Hey everybody, in today's lesson we're going to be looking at subtracting polynomials. This will be a continuation from the adding polynomials, and we're going to follow a lot of the same procedures as we're going through subtracting. Now, in the subtraction of a polynomial, the literal meaning for the minus symbol or the subtraction symbol is to add the opposite. So to add the opposite. So therefore, reverse the sign of the term within the second set of brackets, then drop the brackets and combine like terms. In the addition, when we were going through it, we were dropping the brackets. Now, you're only dropping the brackets when you have a plus or a subtraction in between the brackets. If there was nothing here, then that's a multiplication question, not an adding or subtracting question. So we don't just jump in and start removing the brackets. We want to only do that if we're looking at adding or subtracting. Now, the steps here say, in subtracting polynomials, reverse the sign in the second set of brackets and eliminate the brackets. Collect or group like terms, combine like terms. So a lot of this is the exact same that we were doing for adding. It's just the reversing the signs in the second set of brackets is what is different. So let's take a look at that here. In the first question, in the first set of brackets here, we have 3x squared subtract 4x, and then subtract in the second set of brackets 2x squared subtract 6x. So if we're following those steps from above, what we want to do is reverse the sign in the second set of brackets and eliminate the brackets. That means we're going to change this to a plus and then change every other symbol to the opposite. So where there was no sign in front of the 2x squared, we've now made that negative 2x squared, and it used to be negative 6x, and we've changed that to a positive 6x. The last thing that you want to do is you want to remove these brackets. So we're going to remove this, remove this, remove this. What this really is going to look like would be 3x squared subtract 4x, so the exact same for the first portion, and then we're changing this to plus, just moved on me here, plus negative 2x squared plus 6x. Now we have an adding, a negative. What we could really do is just remove that, and it's a subtract 2x squared instead. Now, we can do this left to right, or we can do this vertically. Again, it's your choice on how you want to solve for this polynomial. I'm going to show you on the side here what it's going to look like vertically, because a lot of you are comfortable with the left to right method. So we'd have the 3x squared subtract 4x. Then we have our second part here, which is the negative 2x squared plus 6x. It's important when we are doing this method that we have the x squared over top of the x squared, the x over the x. If we had a constant, we'd have the constant over top of the other constant. If there isn't another one, then you just leave it blank underneath or above it. So we do this vertically, where we'd have negative 4x plus 6x, which gives us positive 2x. And then we have 3x squared subtract 2x squared, which leaves us with x squared. And that would be our final answer for our subtracting polynomials. It's our simplified version, and we're not solving for x here. We're just getting it as simplified as possible. For b, we have to follow the same steps. So we're reversing the signs in the second set of brackets and eliminating the brackets. So this changes to a plus, this changes to a plus, this changes to a negative, and this changes to a negative. So what we have is 5x squared subtract 3 plus 2x squared subtract 3x subtract 6. Now the last time I did it vertically, this time I'm going to look at doing it left to right. So I have my x squared here and a positive x squared here. I have an x, and then I have my constant of -3 and -6. Writing this out, I'd have 5x squared plus 2x squared subtract 3x subtract 3 subtract 6. Now I would solve for this part here for the x squareds. So 5x squared plus 2x squared gets me 7x squared. There's no other x, so I'm going to just write down the -3x. And I have -3 and -6, which gives me -9. And that would be your simplified version of this question. I'll quickly show you on the right here what it would look like if you were doing it vertically, just because without having other x's, it lays out a little different. So I would have, let's just get rid of that, my 5x squared. I would leave a gap because I don't have an x, and then I have my -3. Below the x squared, I have 2x squared. In the middle, I have my -3x, and then my -6. So remember, I don't have any other x's, so I'm just leaving that space blank. It would work out the same here, where I'd have -3 and -6, making -9. Then I have -3x by itself, and 5x squared plus 2x squared would be 7x squared. So either way that you do this, you end up with the same answer. Now for C, we are following the exact same steps here. So I want to change this to a plus, this to a plus, this to a negative, and this to a plus. I'm going to leave this one for you to solve on your own. You can do it either left to right, or you can do it vertically, and it's whatever method works best for you. So make sure you do this one and then check the class OneNote to see if you're doing this correct. For D, I have -2a squared plus a subtract 1 in the first set of brackets, subtract a squared subtract 3a plus 2. Again, I'm changing the symbol. So plus, this is going to a negative, change to a plus, and this is changing to a negative. I'm going to do this vertically on the right here. So the first portion copies down the exact same. So plus a subtract 1. Below this, I have -a squared, positive 3a, and -2. Draw my line, and I'm going to go vertically, so I have -1 plus -2, which gives me -3. Then I have a plus 3a, which is 4a, and -2a plus -a squared, -2a squared plus -a squared gives me -3a squared. Don't forget that plus in the middle. This would work out to be the same answer going left to right as well. For the next two questions, I'm going to leave for you to do on your own. Remember, when you get to F, I want you to follow that standard form or standard notation. So remember, you're going alphabetically and numerically. So alphabetically A to Z, and then you want your highest degree going first. So if you have, for example, a cubed and a squared would come before a squared when you're writing it down left to right. When we're looking at this problem for G, it says a student subtracted like this. So we have the beginning and then all of the work below. What we're trying to do is find out if, well, it says explain why the solution is incorrect. So we're looking for why this is wrong and what is the correct answer. So we need to show our work. So let's see if we can figure out where they made their mistake. We know that what you have to do is change the symbol. Well, this would change to a plus, this would change to a negative, and this would change to a plus. This negative came down, so that's good, but this plus did not come down. So this is where our mistake is going to be. I'm going to do this work on the right here so that I have 5x plus 4, and then I have negative 4x plus 7, which should have been the correct work that they would have done. Then you could do this either left to right or vertically. I'm going to again do vertically. So we have 5x plus 4 over negative 4x plus 7. Draw my line. And it's addition now. So we have 4 plus 7 equals 11. And it's positive 11, so we put that plus symbol down. And then we have 5x subtract 4x, which gives us x by itself. So our final answer should have been x plus 11, not x subtract 3. We're flipping over to the following page, and we're looking at perimeter of a rectangle below is 12x plus 8. And we want to determine the unknown length. So if this side is x plus 2, that'll make this side x plus 2. Our unknown length is going to be the top and bottom of this rectangle. So we need to know what this part, let's actually make that proper, this part is going to be. So those are unknowns, right? Perimeter equals 12x plus 8. So what we want to do is subtract the two sides that we know from the total perimeter, which will leave the top and the bottom remaining. Then we'll be able to split that in half to determine what just the top equals and what just the bottom equals. So our first step to do is add together what we know. So we know x plus 2 and x plus 2. Adding this together, we get 4, which is positive, and we have 2x. The next thing that we want to do is subtract this from the total perimeter. So our total perimeter, now we're going to put this in brackets, is 12x plus 8. Close that bracket. And we want to subtract what we put here. So we have 2x plus 4. We know that the first step we need to do for a subtracting polynomial question is to change the second set of brackets, which means we're going to change the middle to a plus, change this to a negative, and this positive 4 to a negative 4. So what we have now is 12x plus 8 subtract 2x subtract 4. You can choose to do this left to right or vertically. If I was doing it left to right, you want to group together your like terms. So group together your like terms. So we have 12x subtract 2x plus 8 subtract 4. 12x subtract 2x gives us 10x. And then we have positive 8 subtract 4, which gets us plus 4. That 10x plus 4 equals what the top and the bottom adds together to be. So we want to cut this in half or divide this by 2. So we're cutting it in half for each length. Meaning, if we take 10x and we want to split it into 2, well, half of 10x would be 5x and 5x, and half of 4 would be 2 and 2. So that means the top of the rectangle is going to be 5x plus 2, and the bottom of the rectangle is going to be 5x plus 2. Now this brings us to the end of the lesson for subtracting polynomials. The biggest takeaway from this lesson, the difference between adding and subtracting, is for subtracting polynomials, you're changing the second set of brackets and flipping all of the symbols. So just like adding, you're removing the brackets, but the biggest thing to take away is that you're changing the symbols in the second set of brackets from positive to negative or negative to positive. Now, if you have any questions, make sure you ask me in class or you send me a message over Teams. Have a good day.